Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my channel. Today is day 10 of Python for DevOps series, and in this video we will deep dive into the concept called working with lists part 2. Now, why do I call this as part 2? Because we have already covered fundamentals of lists and tuples as part of day 8, where we learned what exactly lists and tuples are, what are the differences between lists and tuples in Python. Not just that, we also learned some of the handling functions on lists and tuples, such as how to add an element into a list, how to remove elements from list. We learned how to fetch a particular element from lists and tuples. And we also looked at some common handling functions such as length function or range. So this is what we did as part of day 8. Of course, I did not explain you how to write scripts or the complex programming that DevOps engineers do using lists and tuples, and there is a reason for it. I could have explained that is the advanced concept of lists and tuples, but without understanding the concept of loops, it is not practically possible for you to understand what we are learning in today's video. So that's why I have structured the course in such a way that first you understand the fundamentals of lists and tuples, then you understand how to write loops in Python, and in day 10, that is today, you will write a program that DevOps engineers usually write, which is one of the commonly used tasks. I will select one such program for today's class, and I'll explain you how to implement that. Right? So without any further delay, let's go ahead and try to understand what is the program that we will try to implement today. Okay. Before going there, just a very quick announcement. If you are watching this channel for the first time, we are doing series called Python for DevOps. And as part of this, we have already completed the first 9 episodes covering various fundamentals of Python. And going ahead, we will learn advanced concepts, that is writing complicated programs or real-time use cases of DevOps engineers, how they use Python. So I would highly recommend you, if you are interested learning Python for DevOps, please check out the course syllabus. And if you like it, you can watch all the episodes of this series in the playlist called Python for DevOps on this channel. Perfect. Now, let's understand first what is the program that we will try to write today. So I have chosen a program which is list all the files in list of folders that user provides. There is a extension, that is part 2 for this program, which is more advanced, where we will try to implement, along with listing all the files in all the folders, we will also print which file has maximum size. That is, which file occupies maximum size on the disk. But this is extension to the program. We will not learn it at this point of time. As we proceed or as we progress with this Python series, we will learn how to do it because it requires more modules in Python. For now, this is the program that we will write today. So let's try to understand this program first of all. So what is the input and what is the required output? Okay. So whenever you want to write a program, this is what you have to understand first. Understand what is the input that is provided to you and what is the expectation. That is, what is the output one is expecting from your program. So the input that is provided by the user is list of folder names. So probably user might provide something like /tmp, /abc, okay, or /opt/dev, whatever it is, user would provide some input like this. And output that you have to print is, you have to say files in the provided folders are, First, you have to print, let's say /tmp, and print all the files that are available in that particular folder. And second, another path that user has provided. If user provides 100 paths, then you have to provide all the files in that 100 folders. So did you understand what is the input and what is the output? Perfect. Now what we need to do is whenever we write a program, right? Of course, the program that we are going to write is already available in the GitHub repository. If you go to Day-10 folder, you will see 03 list files in folders.py, and this is the final output that we are going to write today. If you look at this program, you might see a lot of new keywords and you might find this program complicated. But what I will do is, instead of explaining you this entire program in one single go, we will try to break this program into small parts. Okay. So we will start with writing algorithm for this program, and using algorithm, we will say, okay, this has to be my step one, this has to be my step two. And finally, we will write this complete program, right? So let's do that. Firstly, let's identify what should be your steps. So step one has to be how to read input from the user, because this entire program depends on user's input. User can give you one folder, two folder, 10 folders, or 100 number of folders. So the first thing is read input from the user. Now, second thing, once user gives you input, let's say user has given you 10 folders. So you cannot execute this operation on all 10 folders at once, right? You have to go step by step. That's where your loops come into picture. So we need to write a for loop where you know that how many number of inputs user is providing. So what you will do on a particular for loop where user is providing you a sequence, right? On the sequence that user has provided, perform loop on each and every element, that is on each and every folder. Okay. So user has provided you list of folders, and what you will do is on each and every folder, you will execute the action called list files. Now, third step that you have to do is identify module that is required in Python to implement this action, right? So to list files, what is the module that you need in Python? So I'll explain that, because this is a quite commonly used task and you don't have to write code for it. Like I told you during the modules class, if there is some code that is frequently used, there will always be module that is available. You don't have to write code for it. So to list files on your operating system, there will be some modules. So let's use that particular module. Step 4, print files, right? Once you identify the module that is required to list the files, what will be your step 4? Step 4 would be to print each and every file, because I told you during the output, you have to print each and every file that is available in the folders. So we will use step 4 as print 4. And step 5 is handle any known errors. I'll explain you what is this. Okay, so this is my algorithm, a very rough one on what am I going to do in this particular program. So let's go step by step. Let's start with step 1, that is read input from the user. So to read input from the user, there are multiple ways. I have explained you in the previous classes. See, the reason why I ask you people to go and complete all the previous videos, because all these videos are related to each other. I have structured the course in such a way that if you watch previous videos, the next videos will be easy for you. So to read input from the users, I have explained you, there is command line arguments, right? Or you can use env vars. And in today's video, I'll explain about a new way called input. Okay. So input is nothing but a similar thing which reads input from the users like command line arguments and env vars. But the difference is that input executes at the runtime. We'll see what does that mean. Okay. So let's say if I go to my code spaces, and take a test.py file. So if you just say numbers is equals to input of please provide a number, and I will say print of number. Okay. Now in this particular code, what am I doing? I am asking user to provide an input. Previously, when we learned about command line arguments, how did we do it? We said number is equals to sys.argv of 1, right? This is how we read when we were using command line arguments. But here what I'm doing, I'm saying number is equals to input of, I'm providing this thing to the user. Okay, so if you execute this program and see what will happen when you execute python test.py, it will prompt a message on the terminal for the user asking user to provide a number. Okay, so that's why this is called as runtime. Here we are asking user to provide a number during the execution of the program, that is during runtime. Now as soon as user provides number as 5, because you have a print statement here called print number, so I provided number, and as soon as I execute, the program prints 5 on the terminal. Now why did it print? Because at the line number 4 you said print of number, right? So what is happening here? You are taking input from the user at the runtime, and this is another way of taking the input. Okay, so depending upon your use case, you can use command line arguments, you can use env vars, or you can use input. I'll give you some example where input is quite popularly used. Let's say, because you are all DevOps engineers, you might have seen when you execute Terraform plan or Terraform apply, Terraform asks you yes or no, or to proceed further or not. Or when you say apt install wget, let's say, so again apt will ask you, are you sure you want to install or not? So here what is happening? The modules such as Terraform or apt, they are taking input from you, and during the runtime, that is during the execution time, they are asking for your feedback. If you don't give anything, what will happen? The program will wait for you. If you give no, program will get aborted. If you give yes, program will proceed. So here we are asking input from the user during the runtime. Now I just wanted to explain you about this particular input mechanism as well. That's why I'm choosing this way. Otherwise, if you are comfortable with command line arguments, for today's video, you can also take command line argument as an input. There is no problem. But we are learning a new mechanism, so I thought, let me do it. So if we go back to the program that we want to write, what is the input that we are taking from the users? We are taking folders. So let's call it folders list, because we are taking list of folders from the user. So I'll call it folders list, or I can simply call it folders as well, doesn't matter. Folders is equals to input of please provide list of folders names. Okay, so here we are telling users you can provide any list of folders names that you want, and we will give you the output that are files in the folder. So I'm taking this input and I'm storing it in folders. Now comes another part, that is, see, for the step 1, we are reading input from the users. Okay, and we are asking users to provide list of folders. Now the executing people, people who are executing this program, they might be new to Python, or they might be zero in Python. So you should not be asking them to provide a list as an input, right? If you ask them to provide a list as an input, they might know what is list in Python, they might not know, or they might be comfortable in creating a list or not. So what you need to do is you should ask them to provide folder names with some spaces. Okay, so tell them that execute the program something like this: Python test.py. Okay, and because we are using input, once they execute the program, this program will ask them, please provide some folder names. And here you can ask them to say, provide folder names with some spaces so that they can provide /tmp space /opt space /abc. And within our program, because this is a string that they're providing, we will convert this particular thing into a list. Okay. So we want to make it easy for the users. So instead of asking them to create a list like this, we will ask them to just provide a string with spaces and we will convert that into a list. Okay. So how do we do that? It's very, very simple. So I will tell them, please provide list of folders names with spaces in between. And what I will do is on the input that they are passing, I will use a string handling function that I've explained in D2, which is called as split. And what will split do? If they are providing spaces on the space action, split will, take this entire string and it will convert this to a list with commas. I'll show you how does that happen. Now, if you execute this program, let's see what will happen. So let's say Python space, of course I have to do this, print of folders, Python test.py. Now if I execute this, now it is asking me to please provide list of folders with spaces in between. So I'll say /opt/tmp and see what is the output. Output is a list. We have provided input. We are asking user to provide input with spaces in between, the folders names with spaces in between, and we are converting that input as a list. So we are just making it more comfortable and convenient for the users, nothing more than that, right? So we are completed with the step 1. We got the input. Now what we have to do, step 2, is we have to write a for loop, because you cannot execute on all the folders at once. You have to execute on each and every folder. So for that, what I will do, I'll say, I'll remove this print statement and I'll just say here, for folder in folders. We learned in yesterday's class how this for loop has to be written. So you start with for as a keyword, you declare a variable, you write the in keyword, and finally you write the sequence. So I've explained this very clearly in the last class. Now I'll just say print of folder, so that we understand if the for loop that we have written is proper or not. Because here I want to replace this print statement and I'll replace this with block of code that will print files in each and every folder. But for now, let's see if this works or not. Print, sorry, Python test.py, provide to, let's say, /opt/tmp. Perfect. Now it is printing in the order. Now I'll replace this particular statement and write the actual logic. That is our step number 3, to identify the module. Now the module that we want in today's class is nothing but the OS module. Okay. What is the module that we need in today's class? We will need the OS module, because OS is a module that talks to the operating system. And within the OS module, there is a function called os.listdir. Okay. So this is the function that we are going to use. Now you might ask me, Abhishek, how do you know about this function? So this comes with understanding, this comes with practicing a lot of Python programs. So I know that inside the OS module, there is a function called list directory. And when you do this, it will print all the files in that particular directory. It's similar to in shell, you have something like ls, right? Similarly, in Python, you have list directory function. So let's see if we can use that. So here I'll say import OS first. I've explained this in the module class. What is import keyword? Now I'll say os.list directory of folder. Perfect. So what did I do here? For folder in folders, that is on each and every folder, I'm just trying to say os.list directory of folder. Now we will see if this works or not. Okay. So I need to have a print statement, right? So instead of directly doing this, I'll say files is equals to, okay. And here I'll say print of file. So Python test.py. Perfect. And now let us give only one thing as an input and see first. I'll just say /opt, and this is the output that I got. Output I got is list of files. Again, I got a list as an output. And let's verify if this output is correct or not. Because we are on a terminal, we can simply run ls/opt and verify if this is correct or not. See, Conda is here, containerd is here, .NET, OY, whatever it is. Then there is Python and then there is TMP. Perfect. That means we got the perfect output when we give one input. Now let us give two inputs. Okay. I'll give /opt space /tmp. Again, we got the perfect output. So this is the output for /tmp and this is the output for /opt. Of course, this is not looking very clear when we give two inputs. So what I'll do is I'll write a print statement here and say print listing files for the folder using concatenation. I'll say what is the folder name. This is the folder name, right? Now let us see if this output is little bit clear for us. Okay. And to make it much clearer, I'll write this /opt space /tmp. Perfect. Now you can see it says listing files for the folder /opt, listing files for the folder /tmp, and it has given us the list of files names in it. But what is the output that we require? The output that we require is not a list. We don't want a list as an output, but we want to print all the files in the order, right? So to do that, again, we will write a for loop. So what we will do is remove this print statement. And here we will say for file in files. Okay. So I'm taking this list and within the list, I'm trying to print each and every element. So here I'll simply say print of file. Now let's see if this works or not. So again, we have to repeat this action to verify our program /opt / let's give one as an input. See, now we got this one which is saying the print statement listing files for the folder opt, and all of them are printed in the proper order. So this is the desired output that user wants. Now you can give 2 inputs, 3 inputs, 10 inputs, doesn't matter. Here I can say /opt /tmp, and if you see we get everything in the proper order that you can read. Perfect. Now the expected output for the program is available. But now what I'll do is, let's say as a user, I'll give input as /xyz and /opt. So this is a folder that does not exist, and this is a folder that exists. Okay. So understand very carefully. As a user, I gave 2 inputs. One is a wrong input and one is the right input. Now, if you execute the program, see what will happen. Program failed. And what did it say? It said file not found error. Okay. That means the folder that you have given does not exist. But is this the expected behavior? If you are writing the program, you have to make sure that, okay, if /xyz does not exist, that's okay. At least try on /opt, right? because here user has provided wrong input, but this input is right. /opt folder is available on my file system. So this particular thing in Python is called as exceptional handling. So let's clear a bit of the screen so that we need a bigger whiteboard when we explain the programs. Perfect. So this particular concept is called as exceptional handling. That means when you want to handle a particular program, a particular error or a particular exception in Python, then we will use the concept called exceptional handling, where you know that user might run into this kind of errors and you are okay with that particular error. That means, what does okay means? Okay means that instead of abrupting the program or instead of terminating the program, okay, what you want to do is you want to give user a proper error message. Okay, understand what is exceptional handling? So exceptional handling means instead of terminating the program for a known error or for a known exception, you want to give proper error message and you want your program to proceed, right? So how do you implement exceptional handling in Python? It is very, very simple. Okay, so we will do it in just a couple of minutes. What we have to do is wherever the logic for this kind of exceptions you want to handle, instead of writing that block of code directly, what we will do is we will write it inside a keyword called try. Okay, and just put it here like this. So these are the lines where I want to perform exceptional handling, or you don't need a print statement also. So these are the lines where I want to perform exceptional handling. So if the folder does not exist, what I want to do is I am saying write it inside the try block, and you need to write another keyword called except. Okay, and inside the except, here you have to provide what kind of errors you want to accept. So take this error that is available here called file not found error, and simply say in the print statement, okay, in the print statement, we will simply say, please provide a valid folder name, right? What are we saying? We just mentioned, please provide a valid folder name. And now it depends on how do you want to handle the program's execution. So do you want to terminate the program safely, or do you want to proceed with the program? So usually what I want to say is if user is providing wrong input, okay, so I just want to tell user, okay, please come up with the right inputs. All the inputs have to be clear. Okay, if this is my behavior that I want. So what I'll do is I'll simply say, because we are inside a for loop, right? So to terminate the execution of the for loop, what we will do is we will use the break statement. So I'll simply say break. Now let us see what is going to happen. Okay, so let's give Python test.py and let's give input as /xyz. Okay, and let us see. Here we did not get the error. Previously we got error and the Python program errored out. But here what has happened? It simply gave the error message that you have mentioned. Please provide a valid folder name. That means you are not erroring out the program or you are not terminating the program, but you are smoothly handling it. Why you have to smoothly handle it? Because now again, if we go back to our use case, where if I say /xyz space /opt, okay, so here user has provided right input and here user has provided the wrong input. So I am handling it safely, saying that, okay, your program is not completely an error, but one of the output that you have provided, one of the input that you have provided is wrong. Other input might be right. So here you can say, please provide a valid folder name. Looks like this folder does not exist, and here you can give the folder name plus folder, so that user will clearly understand, acha, okay, one thing that I have provided is wrong, that's why the program failed. So now if I execute and say slash opt slash, sorry, slash xyz slash opt, perfect. So user got clear error message saying that your program did not work, or the one that you have executed did not work because you did not provide proper input. Now, exceptional handlings you can perform on one known error or any number of known errors. So there is another known error, that is, let's say on this particular file system, user who is executing, let's say user does not have access to particular folders. So what you can say again, except permission error. If user gets any kind of permission error, then you can say, because on this machine I have all the permissions, so I don't see any error. But let's say you logged in as a sudo user, or you logged in as a user who does not have permission to slash etc or something, then you might face something like permission errors. So you can handle print of no access to this folder, and you can provide the folder name, so that you can make your program much better using this kind of things. Okay, so this is how you write the programs in much better way, where not just write the code that is required, but you have to make sure user understands your program, and your program has to be user friendly in terms of the output. Your program should not break for known issues, or your program should not fail for issues that you don't want it to fail. So you can use try and except, which is called as exceptional handling. So exceptional handlings can be as simple as, I'll give you one more example because we are already here. Let's say you are asking user to, you are writing a calculator function, and let's say user is trying to perform division. Okay. And you asked user to provide two numbers. User has provided two numbers, but let's say user has provided 5 and 0. Okay. So, I mean, if you are a math student, or if you know maths, then you cannot divide any element by 0. So here you asked user to provide two inputs, but probably user does not know that 0 should not be provided as an input, and he has provided 0 as an input. So this should not be error on the program, but this should be an exception. So what you can do again, if you are using Visual Studio Code, or if you're using any IDE, you can simply see this thing, where if you write except followed by 0 division error. See, as soon as you write Z, you will see this exceptions. So why are you seeing these things? Like, as soon as I write Z, why am I seeing this 0 division error? Because in Python or in any programming language, there are some known exceptions. Exceptional handling is available in most of the programming languages. So that's the reason why whenever you are writing the except block, so Python says, okay, I know this 50 known exceptions. If you want one out of these things, then I will help you. So that's why as soon as I wrote Z, Python understood that, okay, probably I'm trying to handle the 0 division exception. So what you can do, if you are writing this division program, Python program, then if user provides 0 as an input, then you can say if number 2 is equals to 0, then say, instead of erroring out, or instead of breaking the program, inside the except block, you will say, okay, please do not provide 0 as an input, because 0 is not a valid number for division, and you can safely come out of the program. Perfect. So you can also try to write that particular thing. I can provide you a pseudo code. We can write it here. What we will do is we will say number 1 is equals to sys.argv. We will read command line argument, let's say. And again, you will take number 2 also. Okay. And here you will say div is equals to num1 by num2. Perfect. Here comes the exceptional handling part. You will just say try of div is equals to num1 by num2. And here inside the except, you will say except zero division error, and here you will say print of, simply say please do not provide zero as input. Okay, you will write that particular logic. So you can try to write this particular thing by your side also if you want to understand exceptional handling in a much better way. So now most of my program is done at this point of time. Only thing that is left is, instead of writing programs like this, I have explained you during the functions class, you can write the program in a modular way, or you can write the program using functions so that your program looks much better. So that's what I did here. So for that exceptional handling part, I have created a different function, and rest of the things I have provided inside the main function. Okay. So I wrote two functions, and I'm invoking the main here. Don't worry about what exactly this is. I'll come back to this when we are learning about classes and constructs. But what am I doing? I wrote two functions. So this is a different block of code, and rest is a different block of code. Okay. We wrote the same thing, but here the program is looking much better because I have written this program in functions. That's the only difference. Got it? And what am I doing here? I'm just using the main method. I'm invoking the main method because you have to call one function. And from this function, I'm calling a different function. That's it. There is no other thing that I've done in this program. This is looking much better because we are using functions, right? So this is the program for today. The program is also available here. So you can try to write this program from your side. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you will go back and you will try to implement this program at your end. If you don't understand this part, that's totally fine. You can ignore it for now. But when we move towards the next videos, you will also understand this part. See you all in the next one. Thank you so much. Take care.